And welcome everybody, and thank you guys for joining me again. My name is Wilky, and I'm here with a rather demanded subject by you guys, and that is the question, how do I get so much Starchrom, or why do I have that much Starchrom? And for those of you who want a short answer and want to quit the video, I basically didn't spend a lot of it. That's the simple answer, but obviously I'm here to talk a bit about why I did certain things and stuff like that. So first things first, I think is important. You've probably seen a million of these videos, but in essence, I tried to use every source of Starchrom possible. So the biggest one being season goals, obviously. So you get that. Then I did buy on the first server, I did buy the Starchrom crates at the end. I did buy the Starchrom crates for Stellar Planula. This word is always annoying to do. And yeah, I pretty much did all the purifications. I don't think I did a full 40 level 3 Cortex purification in the first week, mainly because I didn't know about this. I'm not actually a beta player, despite what some people think. So, I mean, I did play to like level 12, so I virtually had no idea what was going on. Needless to say, I pretty much just used every source of Starchrom there is. Now, you have more sources, you have the event sources, you have like link your Discord, all that stuff. I used it. Then I did use the Wilderness Express, and essentially every source there was, at least that was available to my knowledge, is something that I took. There's also 2 codes. I will put them in the description if I don't forget about this. Remind me of this. That give you, I think, an extra 500 per code. They released this in the latest stream. And every now and then they also do like maintenance rewards, especially at the start of the game when the servers had a lot of hiccups. There were plenty, you know, maintenances or like basically just issues with the servers. I think in total we got like 2,000 Starchrom compensation. It's not a huge amount really, but it was just there, right? And since I was there playing, I took this. Other than that, it's really just, as I mentioned, seasonal goals, do the weekly purification, and then in phase 5, I'm not sure what's happening on PvP servers, but on PvE servers, if you are in phase 5, you have extra Starchrom to be gotten here, so this is another reward that you can get. I assume PvP has something as well. Also, remember that PvP gets more Starchrom from the Chaotic or Chaos Cortex, I think is the name for the item. So, in essence, anybody on PvP should have more Starchrom than we do on PvE. I don't know by how much, but just in case you have some differences going from PvE to PvP, or, you know, comparing yourself to somebody who's only on PvP servers, this might be one of the reasons why those people have more or less Starchrom than you, and that's it. I would really love to see like a total, in essence, like statistic of how much Starchrom you actually earned. Needless to say, this is mainly how I gotten all of my Starchrom, and now to the actual explanation on why I still have that much. It's fairly simple. The first and foremost, probably the biggest reason, I don't like spending a scarce resource, especially with a game that is so let's just say finicky when it comes to translations, right? I bought my very first purchase actually was the Hammerhead because I really liked the text of it. I liked the sound of it because it sounded cool. Oh, you do power surge, and when you hit power surge, you deal shock damage around, and then you get ammo actually refilled, which in essence it's sort of how it works, not really. So the translation, or I guess the tooltip, just would need some reworks there. Let's just say it was not really a great purchase, and that was my very first purchase. It was only 2,000 Starchrom, so it's not really a big deal. There it is. After that, I was a bit more careful about my choices, and I always had my eyes on the Memento because I like slower hitting guns with you know, high bullet damage or something, because I also like being a bit preservative with is that word? I like to preserve my ammo. So ammo economy, especially in a game where you craft ammo, obviously like, ammo isn't really a problem once human, let's be real here. You can craft plethora of ammo later on. But especially early game, I think I was level 22 or something before I started using my gun. I did the Ravenous Hunter with my crossbow, and yeah, I think Trent was the very first time where I actually got a weapon. So, needless to say, I was looking for guns that had like slower fire rate but higher bullet count. I'm not a big sniper fan per se, especially not with all the ADS and wiggle spam, and that's something I don't like. So I didn't really enjoy the feel of snipers in this game. So that was something that I was looking for. or was not looking for. And then obviously the next choice would be shotguns, because the recurve crossbow was fine for like virtually any content. And even for the first few bosses, if you landed headshots with this thing, even with a rustic crossbow, if you calibrated that thing, it hit plenty heavy shots on virtually anything that had weak spots. So I didn't really feel the need to buy anything else. And yeah, that's essentially how I started to pick my gear. And then, needless to say, I ended up with Doombringer and Memento. Both of them are relatively good in terms of ammo economy. You don't really get the choice to just hold your trigger and like hose bullets at your enemies. So it's not like an SMG, it's not like an LMG. So there's that. And yeah, that essentially led me to buying the Memento and then the Doombringer. And after that, it was essentially just figuring out what kind of armor pieces I was going for. And since I was mainly running the Memento, and, you know, it's a weak spot gun, naturally, I was just really going for Renegade. Then I was using, and back at the time, I think I was using Scout, 2 pieces Scout, 3 pieces Renegade, and I was using the key armor, the first mask, which I think they need to rework it now. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, I was using the precise shot mask for reload speeds because the Memento was really lacking. It still is, but, you know, it was there. It was for free. It was using fast gunner, so needless to say, I now opted in for Ace's mask. So there's that. And that is essentially how I came together to make my build. I was like looking at the stats. I was comparing. I actually made an Excel sheet before buying these things. I was like looking, okay, if I buy the Memento, then what kind of armor would I need, right? Then I started calculating, okay, I would need 3 pieces of Renegade set. I knew that I had the masks, so this is why I actually have these 3 pieces, because I was using the mask at the start, and I was using old Huntsman boots for quite a while, so, and then I switched, so I needed to get another piece. Basically, I have a bit of overlap, but I mean, in essence, it's 3000 Starchrom, and at some point you will probably spend it on something that is not fully utilized or not 100% efficient, so, you know, I don't think it's the end of the world, especially since I have a good amount of Starchrom left lying around. So that's essentially my build making or decision making progress or process. And I'm just genuinely a very careful person when it comes to spending a limited amount of resources. Obviously, I didn't really know all that much. Really, the Memento back then when I bought it, there was like no video. There was nobody using the Memento. There's like one video from CBT2, I think. And that is it. So I was really just jumping ship at that point. I was like, well, if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, then, well, I gotta buy something else. Which right now isn't really so scary, because even if I buy a gun for 8000 Starchrom and waste it, then I'm just gonna buy another one, or, you know, just go back. But back in the days, it was like my very first attempt to make something. So it was a bit scary, but at the same time, I think there's also a bit of a beauty when it comes to those things. And finally, the last part is that due to the fact, or due to the builds that I made early, I never really felt the need, or even there was no point for me to play the gacha game. Like gambling in here, there are no guns or nothing that really interests me, right? So if you take a look at Echoes from the Rift, this is just like, I guess in essence this would be the best choice for me, because I think it contains most of the things in game. Depth charge is for Jaws. I don't run Jaws. I don't know if I will ever use Jaws, because I don't like guns that are all over the place. Not because they're super strong, but because everybody's using it. And like, that makes it a bit boring for me. But that's a personal, like, this is just a taste, right? I'm not saying the gun is good or bad. I think the gun is pretty good. It's not the best gun, despite what some people say, but I think it's still very usable. And they seem to be pushing us, at least on this server, to use the Jaws. But I don't lose the Gulp lore, and the Hammerhead, as I mentioned, is, I think, yeah. I do think it needs work. Because for the, let's just say for the designed purpose, there's no reason this exists. Because this is a gun that is supposedly there to deal with loads of enemies, but in order to tag the enemies and get the effect going, most of these enemies will die before you actually get to use it. So, yeah, let's not waste our time about the Hammerhead. I think at some point it's going to be usable, but there it is. So then we have the Vulture Pyromaniac, we have the Shaman Vulture Top, and we have Stormreaver. I don't use elements or anything, so Stormreaver Um, that's actually not Storm Reaver is the rolling. Yeah, so this is sort of like a brawler type of armor, if you will. You're like rolling into enemies and taking damage in order to get your stacks going. So not really my playstyle. Here we have the sleek leather jacket, so nothing there. And then we have the KVD Boom Boom, so this is a burn weapon. I don't use that either. There's a crank, backfire, and then we have the last one where we have the hardy gloves. So this is what I meant, the shelterer. So this is for element builds. I don't use that either. And you get the idea. There's no the problem for me is even if I were to roll on any of these loopholes, I don't really care for any of the jackpots. And what's even worse is, right, if you remember, we're upgrading blueprints, so let's just assume I'm gonna stick to Memento and Doomringer. Doomringer is Huntsman, Operator for Memento, so if you just filter this, Operator, and Huntsman, there it is, okay. So, the only weapons that I would potentially, or are interesting for me to obtain, are the ones that you're seeing here. And for most of these, they don't exist in the loot rolls as a jackpot or something. So even if RNG is with me, I get a Jaws, which I don't really use, because Jaws is not an operator and not a huntsman weapon. So it really just discourages me. For me personally, Jaws is Beyonder. I don't use any Beyonder gun. So I'm not really keen on spending my stuff right now. I think at some point I just have to, you know, go for it. Because stacking Starchrom until like 100,000 is probably pointless by the time I'm probably in the actual next scenario. So the winter scenario, where my weapons might not even be usable at all. So if I want to upgrade my blueprint in this server or this season, I probably just have to buy it. But I will refrain from buying it until I see at least hard mode, maybe even pro mode. And if I feel like there really is the need for me to upgrade my blueprints or something, then I'm probably just gonna... I don't know what I'm actually gonna be rolling for. I'll probably make a video about this. But yeah, this is in essence really all there is to it. These are my thoughts, and yeah, TLDR is pretty much... I didn't spend a lot. I was just very careful about build picking. I was lucky, needless to say, because Memento worked out just fine. So same for the Doomringer. So my choices, aside from the Hammerhead, were pretty solid, at least for my personal playstyle. And yeah, that's it. Just use all your sources. Don't go too super expensive. At the same time, if you like spending resources, then go for it, really. It's a game. If you enjoy gambling, go gamble. If you don't enjoy gambling, don't gamble. It's that simple. And with that being said, thanks for everybody that is joining me, and I'll see you guys next time.